Namaskar everyone and welcome to the 48th day of our Ramayana Satsanga. Lakshmeenatha Samarambham Nathayamuna Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yo Nityamachyutapadam Bhuja Yugma Rugma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmadgurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारी परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकं कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदप्राचेत सादासीत् साक्षात् राम prayers at the lotus feet of the Acharyas and Sri Rama. Let us take our topic for today. So yesterday we have seen how Rama told Sugriva that we will accept Vibhishana, and he made his pledge that whoever comes and surrenders to me, whether they are good or they are bad, irrespective of their qualities, I will accept them. That is what Rama claimed and he proclaimed. Right now, what happens is Sugriva goes and calls Vibhishana and says that Rama is accepting you. Please come. Now Vibhishana comes and he falls at the feet of Rama. And Rama spoke very sweetly to him. In fact, Rama apologized. His bhava was that I should have only come to Lanka searching for you because you are my bhakta. I am sorry that I made you come all the way till here and it took so much time to accept you. Here, Valmiki says, Lochanabhyam pibanniva. So, what is it that is being conveyed here? The Acharyas explain that this Lochanabhyam pibanniva means Rama drank Vibhishana with his eyes. What is the meaning of that? How can you drink somebody? When Vibhishana heard the sweet words spoken by Rama, he melted out of love and devotion for the Lord. And as he melted, the Lord drank him. This is what the Acharyas explain here. In fact, as I said yesterday, for the sake of this Vibhishana only, to accept this Vibhishana as his devotee, to give him that affection and to give him his Sanidhya only, Lord has come all the way from Sri Vaikunta. Now, Vibhishana was accepted. What about those four Rakshasas who came along with Vibhishana? They were also unconditionally accepted. Did they have to separately tell Rama that you please accept us? No. So, just because they were with Vibhishana, the minute Vibhishana was accepted, those four Rakshasas were also accepted unconditionally. This, the Acharyas say, is a lesson for all of us. Many times we may not on our own have bhakti towards the Lord. We may not have devotion by ourselves. But if we want to get the grace of the Lord, all we need to do is we should be in the shadow of those who are having bhakti. If the Lord is benevolent on somebody, if the Lord is showing his kripa on his bhaktas, then just by being with those bhaktas, we will ensure that the Lord's grace comes on us also. Just like the Rakshasas who came with Vibhishana also got the same acceptance. Similarly, if we are always going to be with bhaktas, then when the Lord graces the bhakta, that grace will come on us also. So that's the easy way to earn the Lord's grace. Now, what Rama does is he tells Lakshmana to bring water from the Samudra, and using that water, he coronates this Lanka, this Vibhishana as the king of Lanka. He does Pattabhisheka for Vibhishana, saying that I am crowning you king of Lanka. Now, when he does this, the Acharyas are asking the question that this Rama, he didn't know where Sita was kept. He searched all around like an ordinary human being. He was crying, where is Sita? Where is Sita? But this same Rama, he knows to coronate Vibhishana. How is he doing Pattabhisheka for Vibhishana? Because he knows that he is going to destroy Ravana. How does he know that he's going to destroy Ravana? He didn't know where Sita was kept. But he knows that Ravana is going to be destroyed, isn't it? So how great is the quality of this Rama? Like that, the Acharyas wonder. Now, there is a very interesting story which is told. It is not appearing in the Valmiki Ramayana, nor I am able to trace where exactly it is told, but it's a very beautiful story which is a big lesson for all of us. So let's just see that story. Now, it is said that Rama made he declared that Vibhishana is the king of Lanka, right? So then all the Vanaras and Sugriva and everybody who was standing there, they asked the Lord, "Oh, what is this? How do you know? Now, what if Ravana, by some chance, if Ravana comes and surrenders to you, you said that you are going to accept him also. Then what will you do with Ravana? You have made Vibhishana as the king of Lanka. What place, what position will you give to Ravana?" So Rama says, "Oh, is that so? Then if Ravana comes, I will make him the king of Ayodhya." Then these Vanaras are asking, "Okay, but already Bharata is the king of Ayodhya. So what will you do with Bharata? What will you give him?" So Rama says, "Okay, I will give him the kingdom of Sri Vaikunta. I will give up that Sri Vaikunta post of mine and I will give it to Bharata." Then they ask, they are shocked to hear this. They say, "Okay, if you are going to give Bharata Sri Vaikunta, then where will you go? Which kingdom will you rule? What is the place for you?" At that time, Rama says that I will rule the Samrajya of the heart of Hanuman. I will rule the kingdom of Hanuman. Why is Rama saying that? To indicate that he is always there where his devotees constantly remember him. So Rama is willing to give up anything, but he is never going to ever give up staying in the heart of his bhaktas. So this is a beautiful story which many times people tell. It is not appearing in any of our sources, but it's a very beautiful story because it shows us that if we have bhakti for Lord, just like Hanuman had, if we constantly keep praying to him and chanting his name, then he will come and reside in our hearts. Even now he is there. It's just that we are not aware of his presence because we are covered by this cloak of all, the avarana which is there because of all our papa punyas. But if we recognize he is seated within us and he is always going to rule our heart if we offer him bhakti and devotion. So let us try to do that in our life also. Now, whatever we have talked about in the previous two satsangs and today, let us just see a little more in detail because we've talked so much about Sharanagati, Sharanagati. So, what is this concept of Sharanagati? And what is it that the Acharyas explain about this? Now, Sharanagati means to go and surrender to the feet of the Lord, to surrender at the lotus feet of Sriman Narayana. And the Acharyas say that this Vibhishana Sharanagati was the entire purpose for Ramavatara. Destroying Ravana is just one extra thing that he has done. He could have done that sitting in Vaikuntha itself. But to give blessings to Vibhishana, to accept Vibhishana when he surrenders, that is the purpose for this Ramavatara. Now, what is this Sharanagati? Who can do this Sharanagati? Sharanagati means to go and surrender, to say that I have nothing of my own and I am totally willing to lead my life as per your will. When you say that to the Lord, that is Sharanagati. Now, who can do this? Anybody can perform Sharanagati. We know of examples. Now we have seen Vibhishana. We've seen in the Ramayana itself so many examples, right? Then we know how Draupadi, when she was being disrobed in the Sabha, that time she threw up her hands and she did Sharanagati to Krishna. So she was a woman, but she did it. What about Gajendra, the elephant? When he found that he is no longer able to protect himself from that crocodile, he can't fight anymore. What did he do? He also gave up all effort of his own and he said, I am surrendering to the Lord. He called out Adi Mulave. Like that, he called out. So the Lord rushed to his rescue. So Gajendra is an animal. Animal also has done Sharanagati. So anybody, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their age, irrespective of their status in life, irrespective of what condition they are in, anybody can do this Sharanagati. Now, where can you perform this? In today's times, we go to an Acharya and we go to the Matha of the Acharya and we do the Sharanagati. But in reality, people, all these examples that we talked about, Draupadi did the Sharanagati in the Sabha when everybody was there. Gajendra did the Sharanagati in the river. This Vibhishana who came and did Sharanagati, he was standing in the sky waiting for permission from Rama. So anywhere Sharanagati can be performed. When do you do Sharanagati? It can be done at any moment. There is no need to search for a muhurta. There is no need to look for a right time. Right now, that is the best time to do it. When did Gajendra do Sharanagati? When the crocodile bit his leg and he was no longer able to defend himself. When did Draupadi do Sharanagati? She was in a shaucha. She was during those days of her monthly menstrual cycle and she was in an impure state and yet she did Sharanagati at that time. When did Vibhishana do? The minute Ravana scolded him and humiliated him, he rushed and he did the Sharanagati. So, any time it can be done. For what purpose do they do Sharanagati? Here we have to understand. Now, Sharanagati, saying that I am surrendering to the Lord, can be done for any purpose. Like what did Draupadi do Sharanagati for? Because she wanted her honor to be protected. She wanted clothes to cover herself. And to protect her honor, she did Sharanagati. What about Gajendra? He wanted to get rid of the crocodile. He wanted to get rid of the trouble that the crocodile was giving him. So he did Sharanagati. What about Vibhishana? He came because he wanted to be on the path of Dharma and he wanted to do Kainkarya, Seva to the Lord. He knew that Rama is the epitome of Dharma. He wanted to serve Rama and therefore he did Sharanagati. What is the reason why we should do Sharanagati? The Acharyas explain that this Sharanagati is done by somebody who realizes that they have no capability to do anything by themselves, and especially in the realm of getting moksha. There is nothing that I can do by my own effort to get moksha. So I surrender to the Lord and I depend on His grace for granting me moksha. That is the purpose of Sharanagati. Are there any rules to be followed? When we go to the mata, we go to the acharya, definitely we need to be in a pure state. We need to have had a ritualistic bath. We need to make sure that we have not eaten anything. We are on an empty stomach. We go there, we get the ritual done. But in reality, are there any rules? This Vibhishana came. When he came, did he go and have a bath in the river, in the sea, and then come to Rama? No, he didn't have a bath and come. This Draupadi was in that Ashaucha time, right? So there are no rules that apply for this Sharanagati. And the most important thing is, whatever we are seeking from the Lord, He will definitely give it to us. When Draupadi asked for her honor to be protected, He gave her clothes. When Gajendra asked to be saved from the crocodile, he came and he killed that crocodile. When Vibhishana asked that I want Kainkarya Bhagya, he gave him that. So whatever you seek, the Lord will give that. And how is it that he gives? He is not going to see what we have done and give us according to that. The very fact that we have begged him for help, by his karuna, by his compassion, he is going to give us. Does that mean that we should not have our anushtana? No, we should definitely do our part. But whatever the Lord is going to grant to us is going to be granted by His compassion and not because of particular efforts that we have put in. And the Acharyas explain that when you want to have upayas, the margas, the path for moksha, then there are two which are prescribed. One is called as sadhyopaya and the other one is siddhopaya. When you say sadhyopaya, it is the path of bhakti yoga. Somebody who has practiced a lot of karma yoga and jnana yoga later gets to the stage where he develops bhakti in the Lord. Now, if he wants to go through that bhakti marga to get moksha, he has to make a lot of efforts on his own. He has to practice yama niyama, he has to practice ahimsa, he has to practice so many things, pranayama, pratyahara. And after going through all those steps, and after his prarabdha is completely wiped out, then only he will get moksha. So, there, his efforts are important. That is why that is called as sadhyopaya. But what is this Prapatti Marga, this Sharanagati Marga? Sharanagati Marga is also called as Prapatti Marga. What is that? It is Siddhopaya. The Lord, the lotus feet of the Lord, they are only the means and they are only the end. By praying to the lotus feet of the Lord only, we are going to get moksha. And those lotus feet will only grant us that. The Lord is waiting, ready to give us moksha. All we need to do is approach him and say, I am yours. Like what Rama told, Tavasmiti yachate. Tavasmi iti yachate. We just need to go to the Lord and say, I am yours. And then he will accept us. So the acharyas compare this. They say that when you want to practice bhakti yoga, you have to put all the efforts. It's like saying there is a big building, a multi-story building, and to climb to the top of that to reach the terrace, you can either take the steps or you can go by the lift. So if you're going to take the steps, then it is your effort which is important there. You have to keep climbing, and you have to not get tired, and you have to keep climbing till you reach the top. So your effort is what gets you to the top. But suppose you enter into the lift, then there is nothing that you have to do. You just have to enter inside, and then the lift itself will take you up by itself. But to be in the lift, you should not suddenly get scared. You should not start pressing any buttons. You should have complete faith that the lift will take you to the top. And with that Vishwasa, when you do Sharanagati, then the Lord will take you. So if you say Bhakti Yoga is like climbing up the steps by yourself, then Sharanagati is the path where you enter the lift and you are wholly dependent on that lift to take you wherever you have to go. You need to surrender everything and you need to have a lot of belief in the Lord. So that is the doctrine of Sharanagati. Now, when we talk about this Sharanagati, it is also called as Prapatti, it is also called as Bharanyasam. So that bhara, whatever you are having the burden of striving for your own moksha, you give up that bhara. There are 5 angas, there are 5 things that we need to do if we are going to adopt this marga of Sharanagati. The first one is called Anukulya Sankalpam. That means we only do those acts which are going to give pleasure to the Lord. Pratikulya Varjanam. We desist from, we do not do any act which will bring displeasure to the Lord. The third part is Karpanyam, realizing that one is totally incapable, that we have nothing in our hands, that we just can't do anything on our own, and surrendering with humility to the Lord. The fourth is called Mahavishwasa, having firm faith, having a lot of Shraddha that the Lord is definitely going to protect us. And the fifth concept is Goptritva Varnam, praying to the Lord that you have to protect me. And all these 5 together are the Angas of Sharanagati, which sometimes is also called as Atmanikshepa. When somebody goes through the Sharanagati, then they have to do what is called as Satvika Tyaga. What is this Satvika Tyaga? Tyaga means sacrifice. Satvika Tyaga means it comprises of 3 things. One, Kartrutva Tyaga. Second, Mamata Tyaga. And third, Phala Tyaga. Kartrutva Tyaga means you realize that you are not doing anything by yourself. Give up the doership of the action. You understand that the Lord is using me as a Madhyama, as the means to get things done. So you give up doership to the Lord. That is Kartrutva Tyaga. Then, normally, whenever we do any action, we think that we are getting the result because of our action. So, we are claiming that action and the benefit as ours. Giving up that, realizing that whatever is coming because of my action is not because of mine, but because of the Lord's grace. That is called as Mamata Tyaga. Mamata, mine, that feeling that this is mine. Giving up that is Mamata Tyaga. And the third is Phala Tyaga. Whatever benefits we may get, we are not interested in those benefits. We do actions because it will give joy to the Lord. We do actions with the faith that it is the Lord who is getting it done through me. We do actions because it has been told by the Lord in the Shastras to do that. And doing that will give joy to the Lord. So, if at all any phala is coming, any fruit is going to come from that action, we are not interested in that either. We are doing phala tyaga. We are dedicating the benefit of all that action also to the Lord. So, nothing belongs to me, everything is of the Lord. I myself am not I, separate from the Lord. I am nothing but a property of the Lord. That kind of a bhava is supposed to be there when we do Sharanagati. And what is the qualification for this Prapatti or Sharanagati? If somebody feels that they are going to be able to do Bhakti Yoga on their own and they will proceed through that marga, they are welcome to do that. But if you feel that you are not capable of anything, the 2 qualities which are required for somebody to do Sharanagati are Akinchanyam and Ananyagatitvam. Akinchanyam means I have nothing. I am a destitute. I don't have the physical and mental strength which is required for Bhakti Yoga. I don't have any jnana. I don't have the ability to study the Shastras and learn everything and act according to that. Or if I belong to the category where I'm not having the qualification, I'm not having the eligibility to study the Shastras. Like, suppose, for example, it is told that women should not read the Vedas, they should not study the Vedas. So, if I'm a woman, then what do? I'm not able to pursue Bhakti Yoga, right? Or if I'm so very having such a great yearning that I want to attain moksha at this very moment, in this very janma, I don't want to wait more janmas. Already I have gone through so many lifetimes. I don't want anything more. I don't want to wait to attain moksha. Then when I do Sharanagati or Prapatti, at the end of this lifetime itself, I get moksha. I don't have to be born again and again. I get to go to Sri Vaikunta and stay there in eternal service to the Lord, doing Kainkarya to the Lord. So anybody who has this Akinchanyam, is fit for Prapatti. What is the other quality? Ananyagatitvam. I feel that I have no other refuge. The Lord Sriman Narayana is my only refuge. He is the only one to whom I can go and surrender. And I don't want anything from him other than moksha. What we talked about, saying that Gajendra asked to be released from the crocodile, Draupadi asked for clothes, and so on, those are inferior phalas. Asking the Lord that I want to be liberated from the cycle of birth and death, that desire for moksha should be the strong desire. Then, when I feel that I want moksha and there is nobody else to give it to me other than Narayana, then I am qualified for Prapatti. So, this essence of this Sharanagati or Prapatti is conveyed in the three Charama shlokas. Two of them we know very well, and one we don't know so much. Not many people know about it. We will see what are these three. So, as we mentioned yesterday, the first one is the Sri Krishna Charama shloka, which appears in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchah. You give up all kinds of dharma. Give up the thought that all these dharmas are going to give you moksha. Just surrender to me. And when you surrender to me, I will take care that no papa attaches itself to you. I will deliver you from all the sinful reactions. Do not have any fear. Do not feel bad. Do not have any depression. That is what is the promise of Krishna. This is called as the Krishna Charama Shloka. So what is he telling? He's saying, give up everything and just surrender to me. Do Sharanagati to me. And I will take care of everything. You don't need to worry about anything. This is the Sri Krishna Charama Shloka. Second is the Sri Rama Charama Shloka, which we saw yesterday. Sakradeva Prapannaya Tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarva bhutebhyo dadamyetat vratam mama. He who seeks refuge in me just once, telling that I am yours, I assure that I will give him safety against everything in this world. This is my vow. This is the Ramacharama Shloka, which appears in the Valmiki Ramayana. The third one is the Varaha Charama Shloka, which appears in the Varaha Purana. All of you must be aware of this avatar that the Lord took as Varaha to protect Bhumi Devi. And when he protected her, that Hiranyaksha had taken and submerged her in the ocean. He brought her out of that, and after that he reassured her. This Bhumi Devi prayed that my children, all the people who are living on earth, my children are all suffering because they don't know what to do, how to attain you. What is the message for them? So at that time, Varaha Bhagavan tells that he gives the reassurance. What is it that he says to her? There are two shlokas together. They are called as the Sri Varaha Charama Shloka. Sthite manasi suswaste sharire satiyo naraha dhatu samye sthite smartha vishwarupam cha mamajam tatastam riyamanam tu kashtapashana sannibham aham smarami badbhaktam nayami paramangatim. He's telling the Bhumi Devi, this entire world is my sharira and I don't have birth and death. When my bhaktas, if somebody with full devotion to me, if they surrender to me, when at a time when they are in a good mental and physical state, and they think, they understand that I am the root for all, I am the Sarvadhara, I am the one who is commanding everything, I am the Niyanta, I am the Sarvasheshi, I am the Ashrayaniyan, right? I am Sarvavyapta and I am Nitya Sannihitan. Then, when they realize that I am everything for them, if they realize this and they surrender to me when they are in a good condition of their body and mind, then at the last moment, whether they think of me or they don't think of me, whether they are conscious or they are unconscious like a log or a stone, then I will remember them at that time and I will take them to Sri Vaikuntha, to my Paramapada, and I will bless them to have Nitya Kainkarya. This is very, very, very important for us because we have seen that Rama has assured us, Krishna has assured us. Equally, Krishna has told in the Bhagavad Gita that whatever one thinks of at the time of death, that is the kind of janma we will get when we are born again. We know the example of Jadabharata, who died thinking of that deer. And although he was such a great jnani and such a great tapasvi, when he died thinking of the deer, he was born as a deer. Now, we don't know what is our life pattern like, isn't it? we don't know at the time when it is time for us to go, when it is time for us to uh, depart from this physical body. We don't know what we will be thinking about, whether we will even be able to think about something. We may be lying unconscious like a log. Then what is going to happen to us? What will be our state? We will again get caught up in the cycle of birth and death, depending on what we thought of at the time of death, isn't it? So the Lord has promised that you don't bother about remembering me at that time. Now, when you are in sound body and mind, now when your faculties are all functioning perfectly well, at this time you remember me. At this time you come and surrender to me. And if you do that, at that time, whether you are able to think of me or not, I will make sure that I take you to my Sri Vaikuntha. I will make sure I will remember you, and you don't need to do anything. I will take care of you. So, this is the supreme reassurance that the Lord has given us. And that is why, as I said, this Varaha Charma Shloka is the one that gives us hope, that inspires us to do Sharanagati. What is this Sharanagati? In the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is uh, established by so many acharyas, by the Alvars, and propagated very greatly by Swami Ramanujacharya, there are certain initiation rituals which are performed. The first one is called as Samashrayanam, or it is also called as Chakrangitam, where you approach and take shelter of the Acharya, and the Acharya will give you Diksha, they will give you initiation. This is done irrespective of the caste, the creed, the gender, and all those things. No differences are seen. During that time of Samashrayanam, a ritual called as the Pancha Sanskara is performed. Tapam, Pundram, Namam, Mantram, Yagam. These are the five stages, the five rituals which are done at that time. Somebody who undergoes this Samashranam has to get the impression of the Shankha and Chakra on their shoulders. They have to wear the Urdhva Pundra, the Dwadasha Urdhva Pundras. They have to add Dasan to their name. They are Ramanujadasas. They are taught three Rahasya mantras, which they have to chant every day. And they have to learn to practice the Aradhana, the worship of Sriman Narayana. So, this is the part which is called as Samashrayanam. The other ritual which is done is called Prapatti or Bharanyasam. So, here through the Acharya, our soul is submitted to the Lord. And somebody who does this Bharanyasa, the main two things that they must do is firstly, they must not be a part of worshipping any deity other than Lord Sriman Narayana. Just like a Pativrata Stri is dedicated to her husband, similarly, those who undergo this Bharanyasam ritual will be dedicated to the worship of Lord Sriman Narayana. The second most important thing they should do is they must never commit what is called as Bhagavata Apachara. They should not offend any devotees of the Lord or any bhaktas of the Lord under any circumstances. The Lord will not mind if offense is done to him, but he will never forgive offenses which are done to his bhaktas. We know how when Hiranyakashipu did so much trouble, he kept trying to give a lot of difficulty to the Lord himself. He did apachara against the Lord. The Lord didn't come at that time. But the minute Hiranyakashipu started torturing Prahlada, who is the devotee of the Lord, then the Lord took avatara as Narasimha. So the second most important thing for somebody who has undergone prapatti is they must never do any kind of bhagavata pachara. They should not offend, they should not talk ill about, they should not criticize, they should not find fault with anybody who is a devotee of the Lord. These are some of the things. If after listening to all these things, if any of you who is listening has any desire to learn more about it, please feel free to get in touch with me and I will give you more information about all this. As I said, these rituals are open to anybody, irrespective of which part of India or which part of the world they come from. They are available to anybody, irrespective of which creed they belong, which caste they belong, which gender they belong. Anybody and everybody is eligible for this. All you need to have is Acharya Nishtha. All you need to have is Shraddha, that the Acharya will guide you to the Lord. And then you have to undergo these rituals. And following that, you have to follow the lifestyle which is advised for a Sri Vaishnava. So, all these things we got to learn. We are seeing so many beautiful things in the Ramayana. And through the Ramayana, we have learned about this great doctrine of Sharanagati. Let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Rama, at the lotus feet of our Acharyas who have given us this path, and let us pray that their blessings will always be on us. Mangalam Kosalendraya, Mahaniya Gunabdhaye, Chakravarti Tanujaya, Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam, Veda Vedanta Vedyaya, Meghashyamalamurtaye, Pumsam Mohana Rupaya, Punyashlokaya Mangalam, पितृभक्ताय सततं भ्रातृभिः सह सीतया नन्दिताखिललोकाय रामभद्राय मङ्गलम् श्रीमते रघुवीराय सेतुलङ्घितसिन्धवे जितराक्षसराजाय रणधीराय मङ्गलम् मङ्गलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्यपुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यै सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम्. Thank you, everybody. We'll meet again tomorrow and see what next happens in the Ramayana. Namaskar.